Bishop Mark Webb has been busy in the Global Methodist Church, and he's been over in the Democratic Republic of Congo. If you don't know where that is, it's dead center in the middle of the Africa. Man, they just barely touch the coast there. It's a huge country. I'm thinking they were formed by the Belgians who like enslaved them under just king. Do you know anything about their history? They've had a rough history, but and then they are also having a rough history in the United Methodist Church because they're under Mande Muyombo, who is the main sellout African bishop. He doesn't even live in Africa. He lives in Georgia. They made him head of the connectional table, Standing Committee on Central Conference Matters. They just put him in charge of everything because he does what they want, and he says what they want to hear. And that's his area. So he's been a huge bully. He's made a lot of people fear for their lives over there. And so it's been against his very, very strong-arm, brutal tactics that many churches and individual United Methodists have left to join the Global Methodist Church. So I think it's a good thing that Mark Webb has gone over to be with them. Here's his post. He's in Kindu in the DRC. The final gathering of the DRC convening conference was held in Kindu. We experienced passionate leaders who are being used by God to be the church. We again got to experience the distribution of bikes and Bibles to pastors, along with worship and reports about the ministry of the GMC beginning in this region of the DRC. These important gatherings in the DRC were made possible through the generous financial partnership of the Alabama Emerald Coast and North Carolina and Western Plains Provisional Annual Conferences. I celebrate the leadership of Dr. Kimba Evariste, President pro tempore of the DRC Provisional Conference, along with presiding elders and other conference leaders. They are moving forward with the boldness to lead the GMC in the Congo. I was grateful to share this trip with Reverend Dr. Lester Spencer, President pro tempore of the Alabama Emerald Coast, and Mr. Simon Mafunda, friend of Plainspoken, who's also our coordinator in Africa. He's also the head of the WCA in Africa. Very impressive guy. They are true servant leaders, brothers in Christ, and good friends. During this trip, I witnessed and heard about the great sacrifices pastors and laity have made to be part of the GMC. I heard about the various forms of resistance and persecution they have encountered. I heard their dreams for building congregations, schools, and medical clinics. We talked about development projects like farming and timbering that will help them to move towards sustaining the ministry they believe God is calling them to. It will not happen quickly, but the dependency on God's Spirit was evident. They are unashamed of the gospel and excited to be a part of the Methodiste Global. Yeah, they speak French over there. We are fortunate to have these brothers and sisters as partners in this new movement known as the GMC. I was blessed and challenged and inspired by spending time with this part of the church. So here's some, oh, come on. I guess I can just full screen it. It's still not very big. Well, I don't get much out of that picture. Why is it doing this to me? This is abysmal. What happens if I do this? Nothing. It gets smaller. Why? I had to make it smaller, David.
That's better.
That is much better. All right, so that's Bishop Webb with two young ladies, of course. That's fun. I don't recognize either. Well, no, I think that's Lester Spencer on the left there. That was the president pro tempore of the Alabama Emerald Coast. Conference Annual de Iglesia Metodiste. See all the people with their smartphones.
It's a lot.
There's the bishop. One of the things I've noticed in a lot of these African nations is they have amazing processionals. They put a lot into coordinating these things. That's fun. Did you ever see the video where they gave goats to Bishop Jones when he went over there?
No.
Yeah, they brought him up. It was like they were going to sacrifice these things right there, and it was pretty awkward, but then, they didn't sacrifice him. But, all right, looks like he was presented with some goats. And I guess, well, if that's in the DRC, then that's in that tiny place next to the ocean. Or maybe that's Simon Mafunda on the far left. Yeah, I guess they can have big lakes there, too. I don't see a shore on the other side. Lester Spencer is 3 people from the left. There's Simon and Bishop. I guess he rode on that little plane. Oh, and there's those 2 little girls again with Lester Spencer. Oh, and we're back to the beginning, I think. Mm-hmm. I just thought it'd be fun to look at our bishop traveling around the world. So I talked with Bishop Jones's wife, Mary Ann. Mm-hmm. I'm forgetting her last name.
Mary Lou?
Mary Lou, thank you. And she wanted to, they had like a 40-day trip overseas where they went to Qatar and the Philippines and several African nations. And she was talking with me about doing a thing where we talk about her travels and go through video and pictures and how fun that would be. And so I said, yeah. She was wanting to publish a book alongside that, and she still might. Said, okay, when you publish a book, we'll do that. But in the meantime, she couldn't help it, and I saw one of the annual conferences, sat down with her and her husband and went through a lot of that on their own. And it's just a lot of good feelings around the international connection of the Global Methodist Church, and just there is actual genuine energy about this stuff. It's not marketing propaganda. Like, a lot of these folks in Africa are genuinely excited about what we're building together and what the future holds. I don't know if any of this gets you excited, or if you even how many Americans do you think are even concerned about what's going on overseas with the GMC?
Probably not many.
You don't think?
But well, I mean, I think they're open to it. I think they can be excitable, but I think the Methodist pastors and like leaders have maybe done so little to feed that sense of connection. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm speaking to myself more than anybody else, but I don't get the sense. I think people, when they learn about it, they're like, oh, that's great, that's cool. But I don't think they're like actively curious, actively pursuing knowledge about what's going on. But when it floats either from the pulpit or by social media, they see like, oh wow, this country has joined the GMC, and they seem super excited. I think they get excited.
Well, and for us in America, the worst thing we had to go through was losing our buildings and our assets that we'd accumulated. And that actually really hurts and is very hard, and but there's a whole other level in some of these other places where they left a huge source of funding for ongoing ministry, and then they have like thugs hired by the bishop who come and give them a hard time, and they can lose their jobs and livelihoods and maybe their health. And so it's amazing to see other parts of the world where they're like, man, we believe in the GMC so much that instead of leaving the Americans altogether, we're going to continue holding to you guys, even though you just put us through an awful chapter in the United Methodist Church. Mm-hmm. We're still going to join hands with you. Mm-hmm. And so I think at this point, well, it's also really hard to care about what's going on over there when you don't know much about over there. Like
Sure.
how many people even know that the DRC speaks French,
Right.
So I think what I'm hopeful about is individual conferences pairing off with conferences and having a missional conference, but also individual churches partnering in mission and ministry with individual churches in their missional area and getting to know people there and getting to know the culture there. And then I think that's what builds those relationships, and that familiarity is what builds that excitement and passion for what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and I think technology, of course, helps a lot, but like the testimony of people who've been over there and gotten a lot out of it, there's no denying that it's simply inspiring, really moving to see and experience and relate to people who clearly, in some ways, have like sacrificed for their faith, or who are living powerfully for Jesus. I remember when we had the guy come from Ethiopia and speak at our annual conference. I can't remember his name.
Me neither.
Man, I wanted to hear him preach. I wanted to hear him preach so much more than anybody else at that. Like this guy, they just said he helped start like over 100 church plants, and he clearly is giving himself, and don't come over here, it's dangerous for you. Okay, so you're living a super dangerous life for Jesus, and you're helping start churches everywhere. I want to hear you talk for a long time. I feel like they have such a gift to offer us. We talk about like people from other nations coming over and like doing mission in the United States, kind of this reverse mission that's happened where historically, like we sent missionaries, now they're sending missionaries to us. I want it, man. Bring it on. Send us all your people. I think they've got a lot of fire to there's kindling over here that they can help catch.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. I like that.